Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us in this event, using cash and voucher assistance to its full potential for children's education. I am here, I'm Emilia Sorrentino, I'm Education Emergency Advisor at Plan International, and I co-chair the Global Education Cluster Cash Task Team. I'm here with my colleagues. Dana Cristescu is Senior Cash and Market Advisor at the Global Education Cluster. She's there at the back. I'm here with Marco Grazia, who is the Director of Education and Child Protection Technical Unit at World Vision, and is also co-chairing the task team with me. Marco is there. And we have our fantastic guest speaker, who is Solomon Bekele. He's cash specialist with World Vision. He's from Ethiopia, but currently deployed to support the response in Ukraine. So today we are going to look at how cash contributes to children's education outcomes and supports also young people education and communities. We are going to do that by exploring what are the multiple barriers that prevent children from going to school, in particular in crisis settings. And we are also going to look at how actually cash and voucher assistance removes economic barriers on the demand side and contributes to children's education in crisis settings. Today we will start with I will share with you some background information about the cash task team, and after that we will move to a quiz. So we will use Mentimeter. So we will ask you to connect to the Mentimeter, and it will be a short quiz that we will do together. And of course, it's not because we want to test your knowledge, it's more like we want to have an interactive session that will trigger also some, reflections around the cash for education emergencies. And after that, we will have a session with Solomon, who will share with us the experience of World Vision in implementing a multi-purpose cash program in Ethiopia. And we will close the event with a video of Save the Children, of a program of Save the Children implemented in Malawi. It's a cash program that they use cash to support children's return to school after the COVID-19 pandemic. So as I said, I'm happy to share some background information about the cash task team. So since 2018, the Global Education Cluster gathered evidence around the use of cash and voucher assistance for education in emergencies. The next step was to develop a synthesis report and accompany guidelines that you will find on your chairs. So the report that is on the chairs is in English, but we also have a French version on the table at the entrance. And the synthesis report is the first resource that was developed, and was developed really for EIE practitioners, education cluster coordinators, and donors. The report highlighted some gaps in the EIE, in the CVA for education emergency practice and knowledge that, the task team is going to address. So as a result, the launch of the task team was the next step. So the task team was launched and is composed of 12 members. And I'm going to read the list because it's just, I don't want to miss anyone. So we have CALP, we have ECHO, Fincher Shade, IRC, OCHA, Save the Children, Street Child, SDC, UNHCR, UNICEF and Plan and World Vision, who are co-chairing the task team. So as I said, the task team developed the work plan to address the gaps in practice, so in the cash for and voucher assistance practice, but also knowledge that were highlighted by the synthesis report. And our work plan, therefore, our work plan addresses five areas of work. We have the evidence gathering phase, and we have developed the research that is focused on how cash can contribute to equity and inclusion of children and children with disability and girls in education emergencies. We also have developed and adapted the tools and guidance, which is the second area of work. The second and the third, actually. And then we also work, another area is around capacity building. And we have an online module that was developed and is included in the Save the Children Kaya module on education emergencies. Lastly, the fifth area of work is around the coordination. So we do coordinate with the other cash task team of other clusters. Of course, we also coordinate with the larger humanitarian community. So without further ado, I will leave the microphone to my colleague Marco, who will, will just present the Mentimeter, our quiz exercise. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So that's the time of interaction. So you need to get your mobile phone or your laptop or your computer, whatever is your device that you can connect with internet. If you're not yet connected, you have on the left side the network you can connect to. And when you are connected, you go either on menti.com, add the code that you see on the screen, or you use the QR code that is on the screen. Both of them work. And you have two screens on the side of this room. When you are there, you will see a little icon of a heart. You press on the heart, so I will know how many people are actually connected. So I see we have 20, well, super fast audience. Usually it takes ages to get people online. Education people are smart people. Good. I think we are 28, if I counted correctly. Yep. Okay, maybe I miscounted. Okay, so we go to the first question. And our first question will be about the barriers, type of barriers. There might be barriers on the demand side, on the supply side. So our first question is, a school that is destroyed or occupied by armed forces, is it a demand barrier or is it a supply side barrier? You might not know, and you might have to choose, I don't know. So that's, since we believe it's a simple question, we don't give you more than 30 seconds. Okay, we have all the 28. And if you click on the enter, please, you will see the right answer is the one that most of you have chosen. Is a supply side barrier, because actually the school that is destroyed create a barrier on the supply side. Who is providing education? Is the education system, is the school. Therefore, a school that is destroyed is a supply side barrier. Well, next question then should be quite easy for you. And it's insufficient income to pay for school fee for a family. Is it a supply side barrier or is a demand side barrier? Again, 30 seconds. Okay, you're all there. Click on enter. And most of you have chosen the correct answer. It's a demand side barrier, because demand side is whatever created barriers for children or the household that access education. So if you go to the next, oh, I can go to the next slide actually. So this is the definition that we have in our synthesis report, which is actually a very simple definition. The demand side barriers are those that are found at family level or child level, whereas the supply side barriers are those related to the service provision. So the school, whatever is around the school. And as I said, this is the definition we have in our synthesis report. Now we are looking more deep into the different type of barriers that children might face in accessing education. So this is a more difficult question, and it will take a little bit more time for you to respond, but we have listed here a series of barriers. You will have on your screen all these barriers. You have the option to decide whether the barrier that you see on your screen, you believe it's a side barrier, it's a supply side barrier, or is it a demand side barrier. You can also tell us if you believe that that specific barrier can be addressed with CVA or cannot be addressed with CVA. So you will see the dots on your screen are all on the left side. You can move them with your finger, you move them to the right side. If you are not sure, if you don't know, you put it in the middle. So for this exercise, we give you a little bit more of time. You can have also the choice to skip a barrier if you are not sure. You press on skip, and then when you completed the whole list of the barriers, you go down, you scroll down to the bottom of your screen on the mobile, and then you submit. So I'll give you a little bit more of time because it's a more complex exercise. The number, to enter, yes. Let me give it to you. First page. You go menti.com and then you type 45365982. You got it? Okay. If you refresh your browser, then you should be directed to this question. So you can choose if it's a side barrier, a supply side barrier, or if it's a demand side. And the same barrier, you can tell us if you believe that can be addressed with CVA or not. Sorry? Ancillary fees are those fees that, for example, a school might require for buying the woods for preparing food, or other fees that are not specifically, well, school education should be free, so no fee should be requested, but sometimes schools ask for additional fees for supporting the cost of the school itself. Yes? Yes. I guess you got to the tricky question. There is a tricky question, otherwise it's not fun. Okay, what you will see in the screen for the ones that have already completed the exercise is that these dots are moving because they are capturing the median of the responses. Then when you all finish, we will look at a couple of these answers to unpack them a little bit more, and we will see how people have responded in the room. We have 23 participants responding so far. I give you 30 more seconds. Would be enough. Okay. For the sake of saving time, we will close now, and we can look at a couple of these barriers and see how you have responded. Nancy, can you please? Yes, thank you. So maybe can you go on the, well, this was an easy one, but maybe go to the second one, opportunity cost of child labor. Okay, so there is basically in the room agreement. You see the dots that you see here are individual responses. So there is kind of agreement that opportunity cost of child labor, of lost child labor, is a demand side barrier, which is exactly correct, because it's something that is impacting on the family or household level. Most of you have also said that it is possible to address the opportunity cost of lost child labor with CVA, which is exactly what is the case. Some of you have decided to attribute these barriers to the supply side, and actually is not the case, because the supply side, we said, is what is creating a barrier on the side of the school, the provision of the service itself. And some of you have decided that cannot be addressed with CVA. Actually, it might be difficult to address it with CVA, but it's one of the cases where we use CVA for addressing the barriers to access education. Maybe can we go to the 3? Yes, exactly. Well, that was the tricky question, because we all know that in emergency, we often pay teachers, either with incentives, with supplementary, well, with incentives mainly. And it's definitely, and there is definitely agreement that there is a supply side barrier. But there is a bit of a disagreement, actually. The room is divided into two, basically. And the disagreement is, can we use cash for overcoming this barrier of unpaid teachers? Yes and no. The room is divided into two. Actually, we say no, this is not a cash voucher intervention, because although we do pay teachers often in emergency with incentives, this is not designed as a social protection scheme. This is designed as an intervention to support the teacher's salary, but it's not designed as a social protection scheme, which is the case for all the CVA intervention. So, and to sum up, to give you, no, can we go to the next slide? Yeah. Yes. So basically, children are facing multiple barriers. We have seen that social and cultural barriers can be on the supply side, on the demand side. Oops. Education service barriers can be only on the supply side. Protection barriers can be on both sides, and economic barriers basically are on the supply, on the demand side. And these are the barriers that we can address with CVA. Only economic barriers can be addressed with cash and vouchers. But obviously, children are facing this. You have this slide on page 11 of the synthesis report. Actually, if you want to go to that page, you have the same exact slide. But to address the barriers, so to enable children to properly not only access education, but to overcome all these barriers, we have to integrate CVA with other type of programming. We give here some example. I cannot go longer on this, and I would prefer rather to give you the live example of our program in Ethiopia. So I will hand over to Emilia and Solomon to give you an example from a program that has used CVA for education emergency outcomes. Over
Thank
to
you. Thank you, Marco. So yeah, so we are now going to listen to Solomon. As I said, Solomon is a cash specialist working with World Vision. He's from Ethiopia, but is currently deployed to Ukraine response. Solomon is going to share with us the experience of a program that that World Vision are implementing in Ethiopia. Is a multi-purpose cash program. And I actually, Solomon, have a few questions for you. So I will start with the first question. So what was the situation that actually pushed World Vision to decide to implement this project? So can you share with us a little bit some information about the situation, about the crisis context?
Thank you, Emily, and thank you all participants. The situation that drives World Vision to design such a program it's a global phenomena. You know, that's climate. Then this climate-induced drought has a serious impact in some part of the country, which are the lowlands of the country where pastoralists and some agro-pastoralists are living. And this agro-pastoralist and pastoralist communities' main livelihood system is predominantly on livestock. Then this climate-induced drought has a significant impact on the weather and disappearance of rainfall and affecting the groundwater and directly affecting the main livelihood source of the pastoralist and agro-pastoralist, which is livestock. Then because of this weather conditions and droughts, many livestock died. Then the income source of the household or income getting from livestock products is greatly decreased. Then the terms of trade, which is selling livestock and purchasing grain, is greatly decreased and affected. Then it exposed families or pastoralists for further negative coping practices like sending children for child labor and sending children to different areas as a migration. And also the other negative coping mechanism, like they are selling the productive assets they have, like livestock, farm tools, and the piece of land they have. These are the prominent challenge or barriers that really come into a vision mind. And there is a UNICEF supported anticipatory action, which is triggering or averting the situation before happening. Then that program is supported by UNICEF. Then World Vision, in collaboration with UNICEF, designed such a program in the southern part of Ethiopia, in particular place called South Omo. Then in particular two districts are like Dasenech and South Ari, two weredas or districts, and implemented or designed this program. These are the situation happened and how we rationalize the situation and try to avert the situation in this program. Thank you.
Thank you. So in the previous session, we have looked at the barriers. So barriers can be multiple, can be on the demand and supply side, can be protection barriers, economic barriers, school level, so education service barriers, and social cultural barriers. Now, in the case of this project, what were the barriers that were identified by World Vision and that, you know, just pushed you then to design this program?
The first barrier is education, economic barrier, which includes livelihood in general. So their livelihood system is totally destroyed or affected because of the growth. It has a multiple indication that they don't have like additional income, or the major income source is totally affected. So they don't have income to support their children to go to school, and even to get some of the basic needs, basic services. So this leads the family to engage children traveling to longer distance to fetch water and also pasture. And surprisingly, most of the children are traveled to the neighboring cities, towns, and engaged in child labor activities. And also we have seen early child marriage because of this scenario. To win such a situation, families have forced their children to engage in that activity. And the whole, these barriers affected the entire livelihood system and also the education system and the child protection activities in that area. So the project design is intended to avert the severe impact of the drought on this, the livelihood aspect and the education aspect and the child protection aspect.
Great. So what were the interventions that you have implemented, and also what were the main achievements, results?
Thank you. The team engaged on the research and assessment realized that a single sector approach couldn't be able to respond these multiple or manifold side challenges. So design the multi-sectoral intervention, which has a WASH component, which has a child protection component, and a cash programming component. When we say cash programming is a type of humanitarian assistance by which the humanitarian agencies provide cash in the form of physical cash, digital cash, and a voucher to targeted and affected people. From the many components of the cash programming, this program implemented the multi-purpose cash assistance. Then multi-purpose assistance by definition is the cash provided to the affected people, which is unrestricted and also unconditional. There is no any condition to give the cash to the affected people. There is no restriction we put on the people, which has people as, you know, full freedom, full authority, and full decision-making power to use the cash for whatever they need, or and also the top need they identified. So these are the program type, and in terms of the main key achievement was the project targeted 440 households or pastoralists. Then in each household, the project targeted 2 school-aged children and school-aged boys. In total, the project targeted 1,760 boys and girls. From these boys and girls, I mean, surprisingly, we got like 72% of the children are girls. And we have analyzed that these are huge positive implication on the existing education system, because girls are the one affected in a multifold, it's like early marriage, and also, you know, traveling to some areas in search of, you know, labor and other things. So the engagement of this significant number of children, especially girls, on education system based on or after program support, that has positive implication, the continuity of education and the engagement of girls in school, and also changing the existing, you know, practice like early marriage and others. The other benefits or key results of the project from the targeted children, 2%, and also in number, close to 38 children were disabled. Previously, they are not able to attend. Now, the provision of cash helped the household to fulfill all scholastic materials, uniforms, basic needs like food, and in some cases, transportation helped these disabled children to engage in the school and follow the education system in their area. The other key achievement was, you know, we did the research before the intervention, then we got that the school dropout percentage was 14% in that area. And after 6 months and close to 1 year later, when we do the final evaluation, the enrollment in 21-20 and the percentage of school dropout reduced from 14 to 6% in that specific 2 districts in 16 schools. For us, that was a big achievement because we have seen a number of children are engaged and participate, enroll, and going and coming to the school and their families is the big achievement. The other key, a short impact, we call it a short impact or midterm impact after the program. World Vision contracted a financial service provider, bank. Then after the project ended, 88% of the targeted people continue using the bank for their saving and in any of the financial inclusion in terms of other financial services. So we have seen they are continually using and accessing the bank. For us, that's one of the financial inclusion which the project helped the targeted household. The other, we have seen there is existed saving and livelihood program run by World Vision in that area. Then 10% of the population of targeted people linked with that saving and livelihood program, which later that program will help them to increase their resilience and increase their saving habit and increase their financial inclusion later. So they will have like a strength and resilience for the recurrent growth. These are the key achievements which I draw from the number of achievements. It's a key achievement the project does in that specific area. Thank you.
I have to use the microphone, so thank you very much. So we have actually a few minutes left before the conclusion. I wonder where there is one or two questions max. So we have two already. Very good, please. Oh yeah, sorry.
Okay, thank you very much for this intervention, and the cash voucher program is really interesting. I had a few questions for Ethiopia. The first one is, in these 2 districts, how did you calculate the amount of cash required for resilience for the family? So what are the parameter you use for the calculation? And what is the frequency of giving family cash? Is it year-round, once a year, etc.? That's one question. And second question is, actually I work in Chad. I'm a program specialist education in Chad, and we also have a cash voucher program. And what happened for us is that our target was very big. So you have 400 households, we have 16,000 girls, which means a lot of households. So when you have to do the program, but in big regions, many children, it took us a long time to identify a service provider, identify the girls. So what will be your advice to actually, when we have a big scale, to go quick and deliver the cash? Thank you very much.
Let's collect also the other question. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing, the information from your program. Actually, my question is the same question that she asked the first question about, like, how to determine the right amount, for cash transfer, or, I guess in each country is different, depending on the context. But what are the kind of common methodology, to determine that level or amount for that? Thank you.
Shall I respond or take another question?
I'm really sorry, but we don't have enough time. Sorry. But you can just stay after and we can definitely address the questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The determination of the transfer value, or how much will be giving to the household, was calculated in 2 ways. We have country level, the minimum expenditure basket determination. That's for multi-sectoral intervention approach. Even though this program is like it has multi-purpose cash, but more specifically for education outcome. So what we did was calculating the education baskets alone, like scholastic materials, uniform, food, transportation, communication for households. We identified these items in the basket then we monetize each item with the market price. For example, in terms of food, what type of food we are providing, we listed out 2 or 3 items, then we monetize. And also the scholastic materials like exercise book, pen, and others, we monetize. Then finally, we came up a certain X or amount of value. Usually when you do the minimum expenditure basket, we are deducting the household capacity, how much they are covering from their own. But in this case, we didn't, because they don't have that financial capacity to contribute to the transfer value. So we give them the education basket, which is ended up like 56 USD per household. And in terms of frequency, the project lasted for 6 rounds because students were in the school like 4 or 5 months. Then the provision will continued while they are in school. That's how we come up with the transfer values in terms of the education multipurpose cash assistance focused on the education. But broadly in the country, we have one big MB or minimum expenditure basket. Then we'll calculate also the household capacity from income from different sources. We'll calculate also how much they are getting from different agencies. Then we'll sum up and deduct that from the minimum expenditure basket, and that's the transfer value. But in this case, it's the simpler way. In terms of the scale up to the broader program, what I suggest is like some of the tasks which is taking longer time, like contracting financial service providers. It's better to engage before you start, install like a financial service agreement, then keep that in your priority. Then when you start the intervention, you can give like a call or engagement. This is our experience. Like before anything's happened, we are contracting the banks, microfinance institutions, we have agreement. So when we start the program, we engage them, we brief on the program, and we'll see any expansion of branches and services in different localities. This is how we are increasing our reach to the broader program. For example, we are implemented cash in almost close to 400,000 people, cash for food, huge. We engaged to FSPs or bankers, but it was not a difficult task for us because we did the engagement 6 months before. They already been contracted by procurement and finance. Then when we start the intervention, they engage. So these are some of the tips that I can say. Expansion.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and if you go on page 21, there is a bit of an explanation on how, in general, are calculated education-related cost in a CVA program for the minimum expenditure basket. And this leads us to the conclusion. I think we can. Yeah,
we are going to conclude now. Thank you very much. So we have seen, our evidence and the experience that Solomon has just shared with us, shows us how cash can contribute to remove economic barriers and contribute to children's education outcome. But we also know, and Solomon has told us that the project has contributed to decrease the dropout rate and has also contributed to an increased participation of children with disabilities in an education program. So cash can also, of course, through an integrated programming approach, can also support rights for education, equity and inclusion for girls and children with disability. And as I announced in the beginning, we have actually conducted this research. So I really encourage you to connect to look at the GEC Global Education Cluster website. We have a cash web page, and you also have a postcard with the QR code. You can use the QR code and you will access all the resources that we have developed. And now we have just a final advocacy message for all of you. As a task team, we are a global task team, and We really hope, we wish that there will be more and more organization that will that are interested in investing in cash for education, and also contributed to the work that we are doing. And also, of course, we also hope that there will be more and more donors, interested in supporting cash for education initiatives. You have our contact details. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We will be happy to support you and share with you more information as needed, but also exchange with you, with your organization, on the work that you are doing. Thank you very much for being here. We were really hoping that talking about money would have been attractive. And we are definitely very, very happy to see such a big crowd, I have to say. Thank you very much.
Look, we close with the video.
Oh, sorry, yes.
So, yeah, you have to activate it from there.
Learners are being supported by cash transfer, by each learner is receiving 5,000 a month.
This program is back to school. A lot of children who don't want from schools came back to school.
So it's simply the children's child to seek it whether if we can integrate 3 components to see if we can help the child still remain in class despite passing through the pandemic era. So Central Back to School mainly is looking into putting together protection concerns, health concerns, and education concerns. A plus which was scored is that all the children we targeted, 1,170, have managed to complete this term without dropping out.